This is the Beyond the Prophy podcast, the podcast that empowers you and inspires you to seek career excellence while pursuing your passion. And I'm your host, Jasmine Haley. Hey BTP family, this Beyond the Prophy podcast episode is brought to you in part through a sponsorship from Young Dental. This episode's feature product is the Vera Advanced Bright Prophy Paste. You know, we often hear from my patients how they want a whiter smile. Well, this Prophy Paste whitens, brightens, and neutralizes the pH. It has a creamy consistency, and it's available in polish and stain remover. What's also awesome about this product is that it's gluten-free and it's made with xylitol. To find out more about this product, visit www.youngdental.com. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Beyond the Prophy podcast. I have a very, very special guest today. If you have heard me or have ever come to any of my CE courses or may have heard me talk in person, this wonderful woman is my speaker inspiration, and it's about time that I have her on the podcast. Welcome, Edie Gibson.
Thank you, Jasmine. It's so nice to be here and spend some time with you. You inspire me just as much, my friend.
Oh, thank you. The very first time I saw you was when you did a presentation for Crest. I had no idea I was going to meet you again when I went to a speaker development course. But I saw you for the first time, and I walked up to you, and I said, and you probably don't even remember this, but I was scared to death because you're very tall.
Probably had high heels on.
Yeah. Very statuesque. And just like your poise, and it was about loops. I was asking, I think it was something you had told me not to get the flip up or something. I was having issues with kind of figuring out why I was struggling with the loops that I had, which were flip ups, or through the lens.
Through the lens, yeah. Flip ups, I prefer flip ups.
Yeah,
hands down. Yep.
So anywho, I've learned so much from you, from watching you, and I'm very grateful to have you on this podcast. So I can't wait to showcase all the amazing stuff that you have done for the hygienists that are listening today.
Oh, thank you, friend. I appreciate that. It's an honor to be here.
All right. So one of the cool things that many people don't know about you, or maybe have forgotten, or maybe just don't know, is the fact that you actually own your own dental hygiene practice.
I did.
Oh my goodness. So tell me what that was like, going through that process, making that decision. Almost like, I think the hardest thing for most hygienists is when they go from getting a paycheck every 2 weeks and then becoming a business owner. And it's all of our dreams. I know for me, I think if I had lived in a state that I could own my own practice, I would go ahead and do it. Because, we like to run the show. I want to run the show. What's that process like for you, going through that and doing that?
It was a very cathartic process. So I had been in dentistry for a long time and a dental hygienist for many, many years. I graduated with my first degree in 1985 from Ferris State University. Go Dogs! And I worked for quite a few different types of practices, from a group practice, which was my first out of the gate, to a few independent practices, a couple specialists, and then I landed a wonderful position in New York City with a large implant practice, GP implant practice. And so that is really where I, no pun intended, cut my teeth in the business side of dentistry, specializing in implant dentistry. And so I brought a business background and mixed it with my clinical background in order to open my practice. So when I left New York City, we moved to a tiny ski town in Colorado called Crested Butte, Colorado, in Gunnison County. And I worked for a dentist for about 2 years. And I'd gone through some health issues. And those health issues changed my perception of life and what I wanted. And little by little, I would be dissuaded and tamped down by the senior dentist in the practice. So when I brought in my loops and my ultrasonics and my airflow therapy and all the modern technologies that I knew were the right way to treat our patients, and especially with implants, and my doc would come behind me and tell the patients that I shouldn't be using them, in essence. And so we clashed. And so my ethics were being challenged. And then the final straw was when the doctor came behind me after I had spoken with this woman who hadn't been in to see us in about 4 years. She was a serious dental phobe. And I spent the majority of the hour talking with her, getting in relationship with her, talking about her oral health needs, her whole body wellness needs. And we talked about dental implants. And I obviously told her the ultimate decision is with you and the dentist, and in comes the doc behind me. And if anybody has heard me speak, they've heard this story. And he walked in and he said, I know Edie has talked to you about dental implants, but we're going to give you a bridge so you can have your teeth in 3 weeks. And that, Jasmine, was my aha moment to say, I can either continue to get a paycheck and compromise my ethics, or I can pull up my big girl panties and go out and open my own practice. And so I went out and I wrote a business plan, and I ran it by a friend of mine who happened to be a patient as well as a friend, a good ski buddy. And he picked that business plan apart, Jasmine, everything, pick. And by the time I left that meeting, I thought, oh, I'm not worthy. I can't do this. Oh my goodness. And the last thing he said to me was, can I be your first patient? And I thought, I can do this. Oh my gosh, I can do this.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so I did. And I found a place, did my own build out, sat in the middle of the room when it was empty, and spun around in my chair. And I thought, how do I want this to look and feel and smell and be for this experience for my clients? And so I shifted them from patients to clients because I'm now a business owner. And that's how I set it up. I set it up as a spa atmosphere. And I didn't look back. Once I had made the decision, I didn't look back. And I continued to fine tune my business plan. I would do things a little differently now because I started with not a lot of capital, and it was a wing and a prayer. And so I always call it the Edie wrong way. And there's the right way, and then there's the Edie wrong way. And it was definitely the Edie wrong way. But I did it, Jasmine. I knew in my soul, just like you, like watching you grow, you knew it, right? You knew it in your heart. And I knew it in my soul that I was going to do whatever it took to make this work. And so I advertised in a local paper. We're in a small ski town, and our paper comes out once a week. And I advertised for about 6 weeks, getting my business up and running. And I was blessed. My husband had a wonderful, wonderful job that he could take care of the finances. And we had some money stashed away, not much. We were living on a wing and a prayer back then. And I put an ad out in the paper, didn't even have a location prior to this, didn't have a location. And I just had things going to my cell phone, all the calls coming to my cell phone. And I had an old pen and paper, an old book, and I wrote the appointments down in pencil. And when it came time to open, I thought, what have I done? Oh my gosh, what have I done? And it was the most exhilarating, scariest, exciting moment of my business life. And I have no regrets. And from that, I've been blessed by many phone calls from many hygienists who want to do the same thing. And so I had a friend tell me, you need to make this a business and charge. And I didn't feel right about that. And so it was mentoring men and women who wanted to do their own, open their own practice. And so I give back and help them all any way I can. And yeah, that was the Edie wrong way.
Well, I've been doing it the Edie wrong way. 2.5 years ago when I started it, it was just like, okay, well, I feel this calling. I'm just going to go ahead, and thankfully I have a husband who's willing to support. I couldn't do everything that I do without him. But Man, that cracks me up. 5 to 10 years from now, talk about, you know what I did is called the Edie wrong way.
Right.
But I made it through.
Yep.
That is so awesome. So what would you say, like, to someone, like, tell me why having a business plan is crucial? Because a lot of people don't understand why that's necessary. Even if it's a limited form, you really need to start off with something. So why do you think that's really crucial for any type of business owner, especially a dental hygienist starting off?
Well, that's a great question, Jasmine. And the first thing that popped into my head is you need to match your heart and your brain onto paper. And so by writing a business plan, and I used a business plan software, and it stepped me through every single aspect of my business. And so it's a long and tedious process, but I would never start a business without it. Even if you're right, even if it's limited. I went into marketing plan and how am I going to differentiate my practice from the 3 other there were 2 dental practices, both with a hygienist within Crested Butte. And we had a population of about 1,800 people. And then there were 5 dental offices 30 miles down valley where I used to practice. And at this point we were living in Gunnison, 30 miles down valley from Crested Butte. And so how was I, as an independent practitioner, going to differentiate myself? Mm-hmm. And it also steps you through the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, what could go wrong? What happens when this goes wrong? What capital do you have in reserves? Which I didn't have any, but I did it anyway. And it makes you own your business in your heart and soul and every fiber. So it was a great process. Now, did I stray from that business plan? Yep. And I modified it as I went along because reality hit. And I opened up a makeup center up front because I'm a makeup artist too. And then I hired an esthetician. Well, she rented space from me. I didn't hire her. We were 2 private businesses working in collaboration. Hired a massage therapist. And it was really a unique situation.
Wow. So were you ever featured in the RDH magazine?
I was, yes. Lynn Slim, love my girl. She wrote twice. She did 2 articles on me.
I was baby hygienist. I read it.
Yeah. I was pregnant at the time. I have a picture of that in my office, and I look at that and think, oh my goodness, look at that round face and that big old belly and my little Yorkshire Terrier on my lap, Miss Coco Chanel.
Oh my, I'm going to find that and I'm going to put it in the show notes because I want to share.
Oh,
incredible.
Yeah, it was cool.
Because I was like, wow, this is possible. I think it was like, that was one of I didn't know that was even possible for dental hygiene, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was 2005. She wrote it in 2005.
I was in school.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That is so cool. All right. Yeah. I love the fact that you point that out about a business plan. I did a limited one. I did one that I found online. Like for me, I'm like I'm a millennial in some ways, but also an old soul in many other. And I tend to look online. Like if I don't have the answer, I'll go on Google or YouTube. And there's so many templates that are out there. What I do like that you mentioned is that you have a software that kind of walks you through. So there was no points you were going to miss or forget about. So you were really, really focused.
Exactly. And don't ask me what the name of that software was, because once I was done with it, I deleted it off my computer because it was one, I'm telling you, it was, well, you know, you've been through it. It was I think I had a brain before this started, but it's now on the paper.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
you can definitely, everyone that's listening, go on Google and type in business plan and you'll find so many resources that are there. You can purchase software. You could find free templates to start off with. And I also think another great point that you mentioned is that you had a friend take a look at it.
Yes.
And scrutinize it. I was going to look at it objectively.
Yes. And he was actually our financial planner. But he was an ex-New Yorker like myself, so we had very similar personalities, and he had an amazing business acumen because that's what he did. He helped large companies and corporations when he retired prior to retiring from New York. He helped large corporations get from point A to point B in their growth strategies. So I chose him strategically because of his brain. And it was the best thing I ever did. It was gut-wrenching because I thought I was a failure. And what I thought in my head was not reality. And like I said, when he said, I want to be your first patient, I went, yes.
What was the best thing about having your own practice?
Being able to deliver the patient-client care that I knew in my heart what was best for them. So, yep, it's a business, but there's a myth that private dental hygiene practices don't make money, and I'm here to tell you I'll dispel that myth every day of the week. And it was being able to do what I felt was right and in the best interest for my client, not the production wheel. You know, granted, I had production, but when I opened my doors, I was booked almost 5 weeks out before I even opened the front door for the first patient. And it's because I looked at it differently. I looked at it as a healthcare setting, not just a dental setting. And so I did blood pressure, saliva tests. We did screenings. I collaborated with my friends who were doctors in the town. And if there were some other issues going on that were showing up in the mouth, then we collaborated with their healthcare providers, their general practitioners, medical doctors.
So one of last week, Friday, I had to go and we had our first SADA meeting at the school that I work at. And so I did an naloxone training, and I gave the CE that I present to the students. And there was a student that came to me at the end and said, oh my goodness, there was this amazing woman that gave this presentation for ADHA. And I was like, stop right there. Edie Gibson. And she was like, oh, she was so wonderful. And then she said that she had saw my picture. She was like, oh my gosh, that's my teacher. But I want to tell you that you've done so many amazing things. We can talk about so much, but I try to limit the chunks of information. One of the things that I admire about you is that you are an extraordinary speaker. So
thank you.
You're welcome. What kind of led you in that direction? And then in particular, the topics that your patient care is heart-centered, and the topics you speak on are heart-centered. So
absolutely.
What led you into speaking and also choosing the topics that you speak on?
That's a great story, and I will make it really as short as possible. So I was working in New York City, and I had remained friends with one of my teachers, my professors from dental hygiene school, Linda Muhlenberg, who you had on the podcast earlier. And she has become Linda. Yeah, we love you. Go Berg, doggy dog. And so she called me when I was in New York City working in a large implant practice for Dr. Ken Judy and the ICOI, and said, so Edie, I want you to come back and speak for our second year dental hygiene students. And I went, oh, I can't do that. I don't stand in front of people. I'm not a speaker. No. I'm the businesswoman. I can't do that. And she said, too late. We already have you booked. Dr. Judy, you're going to speak on implant maintenance. And I went, no. Well, she had collaborated with my boss, my friend. And so I show up at Fair State University in the days of slide carousels, the old-fashioned slides that you look at, reverse, flip down, and you carry the carousels, right? So I carried 2 carousels, 2 projectors onto the plane from New York City to Michigan to speak at Fair State University. Poor Linda, I ran her through that program about 10 times the night before, and she finally said, I think you know it. Go to sleep. And so I got up in front of my second-year students, her second-year students, and as soon as I got up, I forgot everything in my head, and it was about implant maintenance. I thought, what am I speaking on? I don't know. And I looked at Linda, and I went, okay. And I was sweating, Jasmine, had a new suit. I was all out. I just was so excited, nervous. And about a minute into my presentation, it was God going, this is what you're supposed to do. And I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so I pursued it, but not relentlessly. I pursued it calmly for a long time. And then there came a point in my life where I went, yep, this is it. After I had to close my practice for a spinal injury, my private hygiene practice, I pursued my speaking full time. And my topics come from experiences in my life, and they come from my heart. You're right. My programs are all heart-centered, heart passion, and there's a mission. There's a life-changing event that has occurred in my life, and that's what I speak about. And so that's where my ergonomics program came from because of my spinal surgery. That's where all of my addiction programs come from. And anybody who's heard me speak on my addiction programs know that it is based on my life and walk with my husband through his addiction and recovery, and now his walk with our walk with the Lord together. And so that's where I find my subjects for my programs. And I have people say, well, can you do this? And can you do that? And if it's not something that's occurred in my life that I know and then feel empowered and passionate about, I pass it off to somebody who has that passion.
Absolutely. And that's what keeps the people engaged.
Exactly.
And that's what keeps people asking for you to come back, is how you make them feel after the presentation. So I love that's what you do. It's hard to talk about that, but you open yourself up in a very vulnerable place to really share what kind of impact substance use disorder have had in your family. What would you say what would be the most important message you can share with the listeners today on why it's important for us to continue to talk about this subject?
It's important for us not only as healthcare providers, but as human beings. And I say that in all my programs because we're not just dental hygienists. We're human beings. We're men, we're women, we're moms, daughters, dads, sons. We're all in this together. And it's important for us to keep talking about it so we shed the veil and the mask of bad and evil and weakness that people look at. So people look at addicts and the first thing they think about is, oh, they're weak, they're bad, oh my gosh, pull your big girl boy panties up and go out and just stop already. And it's not weakness. Most addictions, now that we're looking through, finding out and really peeling back the onion, most addictions come from some kind of pain, hurt, trauma in that person's life. Yes. And so my programs are now designed to remove the label of addict and remove the stigma of an addict is somebody on the street with torn clothes and passed out drunk or stoned. Mm-hmm. An addict can be sitting right next to you in a program.
Yes.
Somebody who's struggling, right? Somebody who's struggling with the substance issue, a substance use disorder. And sometimes all it takes is us as hygienists having somebody sit in our chair and we know or we suspect that there's an issue going on. It could be that brief intervention by a healthcare professional saying, hey, how's this working for you in your life? You know, I do a whole program on that when we do how we talk about that to our clients. And then as from a humanistic point of view, instead of walking by that person on the street or that person that you see falling down or you know that there's an issue, instead of walking away and around them and just snickering or going, oh, I'm not even going to look at you when I drive by you and you're sitting on the side of the road, is to look at them as a human and know that there is a story under there. Yes. And not just the substance.
Absolutely. And I can't tell you how many times, and I'm sure you can attest to this, when you finish your program, the hygienists that come up, they share that somebody is using in their family, son, mother, husband. I've had a hygienist even share that she was using while she was in school, or people are currently using or have been past users. And, you know, it's interesting. One conversation that I had with one of them mentioned that she was walking amongst other hygienists and they were talking about the program I was offering. And they were very negative to people who had substance use disorder. And they had no idea that she was a previous user. So it's almost like you said, the stigma is it's real.
Yes.
But I love the fact that one of your programs is called Unmasking. You have to remove that veil because it's right in front of our face. And the statistics are showing that more and more people that we encounter every day are facing this.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And I changed the way I start my intro into my programs. And I asked the audience to take a look at the slide, and the word addict is popped up there. And so now I'm going to pop up this and tell me what image comes across your mind. And then I flip through different images of different people in different stages and walks of life. And it's amazing. And then I get to the healthcare slide. I put up a picture of healthcare professionals in scrubs and masks and say, now what about this? And people inevitably go, yeah, great. I know. We just lost an orthopedic surgeon here in Oklahoma City, young man, struggling with alcoholism, was sober, relapsed. His wife and kids moved out. He sat in the bathtub, downed a bottle of pills, and committed suicide. Oh. He's 28. And so and you never know. Yeah. You never know who it is. And my mission or my ministry behind giving those programs is the joyful part of it. Just like you said, Jasmine, is the after, when I stand there and they line up, or my emails blow up, or my texts blow up, and I spend time on the phone with people. And working with my husband, who's director of counseling and recovery for a large church here in Oklahoma City, we can help people get into treatment. Yeah. And we have connections all over the country. And so I get to do a little bit of my ministry from the stage. And that's the joyful part for me, is the aftermath.
Yeah. Man, I wish I could stay longer. I can go on and on about, I love that. I love when people have a strong why. Because it makes so much of a difference. And, you're the type of hygienist, regardless of how much time you may have with your patient, you're going to do what's best for them. And you're going to encourage other hygienists to do the same. And it's about saving lives and making a difference. And that's an important thing that we need to hold up high on this pedestal as hygienists, that we're more than tooth cleaners. We can really make a difference in our patients' lives. Really. Exactly. So this is my last question for you. What was the best career advice you've ever been given?
It was by my daddy when we were younger. Oh, wow. And he always told me, he told me two things, but the one that truly sticks in my head was pursue your passion and the money will follow. And I've lived that. I lost my dad early on, and he died. He had a stroke when I was a sophomore in college, and he died shortly after from a heart attack, all inflammation based. And that is what I remember. He was a Mensa, brilliant, very astute business acumen. And he taught us early on, your handshake is golden, and pursue your passion and the money will follow.
Oh, thank you, Edie. Where can people find you if they want to find out more about the programs that you offer, get in contact with you? What is the best way?
Now, the best way is you can email me at EDIESHU, Edie Shu, S as in Sam, H as in Harry, U as in under, @gmail.com. Or my cell phone is area code 970-596-4458. Shoot me a text. I'll respond if I'm not in a plane or in the front of the room. And you can also go to my website. Now, it's not a fancy website. I'm just going to put it out there, but you can also take a look at my website, which is ediegibson.com.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. I appreciate you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, my friend. It's been an honor.
Hey, BTP family. Thanks for joining the show. Face it, as dental professionals, we're planners. We need every detail before we make a decision. And one of the hardest decisions we've ever had to make was actually taking the time to consider how we were going to obtain our dental licensure. Well, have you gotten to the point where you feel like, what's next? What else can I do with my degree? Well, I have a free webinar on my site, which is www.beyondtheprophy.com. If you go to the events tab and scroll down under live CE webinars, you'll see a course entitled, What in the World can I do with my dental hygiene degree? We're going to cover 3 things. You're going to learn how to identify your skills and reflect on your experience to leverage for future opportunities, cultivate your innate abilities for career opportunities, and apply transferable skills for future opportunities. Please check it out. It's an awesome way that you can learn from home. It's for free. You do it on your own time. Let us know what you think about it. We hope that we continue to serve you with excellence, and we'll see you next time.